Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. Hope everybody's well. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend, and I hope your Monday has kicked off the week very well too. How is everybody? What have you been up to? Let me know what your plans are this evening. Who's hobbying? Who's sitting painting? Who's planning out a new army? Who's looking at new games? Pausing, sort of browsing through the internet, looking at all the new miniatures? Who's just sitting chilling with a beer? Let me know what you're up to tonight. Say hello in the chat if it's your first time here. Say hello if it's the 100th time you've been here. It's nice to hear from everyone. So let's have a look in the chat and see who we've got this evening. We've got Super Pumpkin Man was in nice and early. Nice to see you, my friend. Clyde Dashner as well, saying I'm here and mostly alive. Hope you're feeling a bit better, mate. Major Tom there saying he's playing Vampire tonight, so he's going to pop in later and catch up on the rerun. Joachim is out in the middle of hiking through the Norwegian wilderness at the minute. But he did send these pictures in today. Nick Two Jokes Yelling, good evening to you as well, mate. He said he's going to be dipping in and out this evening, but he thought he'd get in early and say hello. Tasty Brain Drain is in as well. Good evening to you, sir. Haxan, good evening as well. Zingbo, good evening. VJ saying good morning from the future. Hello, future boy. How you doing? Haxan saying, I hope you're recovering well, Andy. We might touch on that stuff later on. For those that weren't in last week, I did have an operation between last Monday's live stream and this Monday's live stream. We might touch on it later. We might not. We'll see how I feel. But yes. Skullduggery, good evening to you, mate. How are you doing? VJ is saying, hope everyone's well. Wayne Hayward is saying, I hope you're feeling okay as well. Thank you very much, mate. Peter Stockdale, good evening. Nick saying, look out, the boss is coming. Everyone look busy. Quick, hi, he's coming. Mark Berracloth, good evening to you. Hello, John Shepherd as well, mate. How are you? Clyde saying it's the man himself. Colin Wakeland, good evening, mate. How's things? Super Pumpkin Man saying good afternoon as well. And Tissy Brain Drain saying, so glad that you're recovering well. I'm not bad, mate. Let's just say I'm not too bad. We might touch on it in a bit, like I say. VJ says last chance to enjoy something non-work related for a few days is onto a big corporate job for the next couple of days and then a weekend of touring gigs. Sounds like you're busy, mate, but just think of the money. Think of the money. Clyde said he's helping his wife come up with Kings of Warless for a Sylvan Elves. Very nice, mate. John Jack, how you doing, buddy? He says, yo, brother, I've fallen into the game turn of 28. I saw you been painting some of that, mate. He said he's getting some modelling and kit bashing done. Very nice, mate. Skulldoggy's been working on the custom Power Rangers miniature. Lots of sculpting and sanding. I like to see a little bit of something different going on, mate. Little bit of little bit of creative work there. Tony Howell, good evening to you, buddy. How's things? Big Dave saying good evening as well. Jonathan Dawson, good evening to you, my friend. How is things? Also, thank you very much for pledging on the Patreon as well. You can just see your name that way at the top of the screen there. Thank you very much for joining the Patreon. Don't forget, if anybody else wants to join, feel free. Colin Max saying, evening, mate. Late out was painting the back gate. It's painting, mate. I'll give you that one. If you're doing a bit of painting, that's never too bad, is it? So, tonight's stream is going to be a bit of a weird one for a couple of reasons. One, we would normally, start of the month, we'd normally be doing our community painting stuff. However, we didn't get many in this month, to be fair, and up until this afternoon, lunchtime, I think I only had about 6 entries. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to give people an extra week. I did get a few more later in there, by which point I'd already kind of decided I was going to push it back for a week. However, I didn't want to do some this week and then some next week. I'd rather do them all as one big kind of lump thing. So we're going to do the painting stream, like the community entries, next week. So if you haven't submitted it yet, you've got a week's grace. I'm giving you an extra bit of time. I do appreciate it's kind of summer holidays here in the UK. 6 weeks holidays. People have been away on holiday. Their kids are going back to school this week. It's been a bit more of a hectic kind of time and stuff. So I will give you some kind of leeway this month. But we will we'll kick off the next painting stream. The other thing is this evening I don't really have a topic to talk about. As you can imagine, I've been a little bit preoccupied since last Monday. Obviously, we had last Monday's live stream. I was in hospital on Thursday for my operation. It's been a kind of a case of getting my head around, getting mentally prepped for that, and then kind of a little bit of recovery the last few days and stuff like that, and making sure everything's okay and all that kind of stuff. So I've not really I've not really come up with a topic for tonight. And ordinarily, these would be the kind of streams where I would go, you know what, I haven't really got anything to talk about. Maybe we just pull this one. Maybe we have a week off and we do it next week. But I thought folks seemed to kind of like a bit of a ramble now and again. People in the chat always have something that they can bring up and have something to chat about. And to be honest, after I'd kind of after last week and having the operation and stuff, it's actually quite nice just to kind of sit and have a bit of a chat with folks. So please, by all means, shout up in the chat. Start with @BlackJack Legacy, the @ symbol @BlackJack Legacy. Let me know. Let me know what you want to chat about. Tell me what you're up to. Tell me about your hobby projects. Ask me what you want to talk about. Ask any questions you want. Maybe tonight's one of those kind of ask me anything kind of things. And I'll be honest where I can be. But yeah, let's just have a bit of a ramble. Let's have a bit of a community night, a bit of an old-fashioned Monday night live stream without a major topic tonight. And let's see how it goes. VG saying hopefully enough money left after the mortgage for a beer and a steak. Yeah, I know that feeling, mate. Tizzy Brain Drinks, he's been enjoying his day off today. No hobbying today, but we'll be leaving in about an hour. His usual Monday night board game groups getting together early due to the holiday. Very nice, mate. What will you be playing tonight? Have you already got your game sorted, or are you just are you winging it and see what people fancy once you get there? John says he's busy painting Hessian Jaeger. Is it Jaeger or Jaeger Perry 28mm figures? Busy basing some. Very nice, mate. RG saying, even everyone, Andy looks great after the up last week. Thank you very much, mate. I do appreciate that. He said, I'm sitting with a whiskey and decanting Citadel paint into drotter bottles. I've had enough of scoping out paint or scraping out paint or scooping even out paint with a brush. I like the Citadel pots, I must be honest. Maybe that's my controversial topic for tonight. But on the other side of things, I would love a whiskey. I would love to join with a whiskey, mate. I'm on the Coca-Cola Zero Sugar vanilla flavour this evening because I'm on antibiotics after my operation, so I'm not allowed to drink for a little while. So I wasn't allowed to drink for a week before the operation, and I'm not allowed to drink for a week after the operation either. So yes, I quite fancy a beer now, to be fair. Yeah, Tizzy Brain saying sorry, I haven't done much painting this month. Clyde saying sorry. You don't have to apologise. I don't mind folks not entering the painting challenges. Most people have been entering them all year, or for like the last 2 years or something now, month in, month out. This month it's a month where views are generally low on YouTube. It's a month where interaction's generally low. People are busy. The weather's nice. People are out there and stuff like that. I kind of just write off August as one of them months and kind of know that once September comes, things will get back to normal. So yeah, I ain't worried too much about it. Robin Mankiller, good evening to you, Robin. How are things? Matt saying, evening all, how are you recovering, Andy? You know what, mate, I'm not too bad, all things considered. I might have, as I said before, and I don't want to kind of like tease this kind of stuff. Like I might chat in a bit more detail. There's two sides to things. Part of me wants to talk about it to kind of like maybe help somebody else, and part of me wants to just keep some things personal because it's my own personal life. However, what I would say is I was told it would be quite uncomfortable and quite painful afterwards, and I wouldn't be. It's going to take. I should take 2 weeks off work was what I was recommended. I shouldn't drive for 2 weeks, and it's going to take a couple of months to kind of fully heal, and probably 6 months to feel kind of back to normal again. So I was expecting the worst. I'll be perfectly honest, but touch wood, he says I'm feeling pretty good at the minute. So. I'm not on any painkillers or anything like that. They've given me painkillers and I'm not taking them because I'm not feeling any pain. So I guess that's kind of like, that's a good sign, to be fair. Or I'm certainly not, I'm not in enough pain that it's made me want to take the kind of codeine and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm okay, mate. Thanks for asking. Nixon, he's been tickled by a War Transformed, but can only find a few little bits about it at the moment. I've also been contemplating picking up War Games Atlantic box to mess around with, but can't decide which one. It's not a game I've heard of, mate. Maybe I'll need to take a look at it. Hacksan saying didn't send it in, but he's painted loads of real life things going on, so we'll get some picks for next week. Yeah, it's pretty much the case, mate, to be fair. It's like I say, I think it's just busy times, mate, busy times. Let's have a little look here. Where was I up to? Big Dave saying, what was the painting challenge for this month? It was Alternative August. So it wasn't Alternative History August. It was just Alternative August. So that might be some kind of alternative history. It might be just an alternative game, something that you normally play. I'm going to paint something different for it. Maybe it was an alternative brand of miniatures. Maybe you're using an alternative brand of paint. It was just something a little bit out your comfort zone, something a bit different, something a bit alternative. That was what it was this month. Tabletop Rumble, good evening to you. Matt saying, after the conversation about painting mindfully, I actually got round to painting some Battletech and not being too hard on myself for mistakes. Well done, mate. That's the way to do it. Honestly, like, it might be something I might kind of get onto later, because there's a few things have kind of cropped up in the last couple of days around competitive gaming and even competitive hobby, I suppose, to a certain extent, I should say. So yeah, we might kind of get into that a little bit in a minute. But yeah, hobby's meant to be fun, mate. It's the hobby is the thing you do in your free time to kind of relax and have fun. Like it shouldn't be stressful. If it's stressful, it's generally not really a hobby kind of thing. Luke Pryor, good evening to you, mate. How you doing? Looks like you've had some nice gaming weekend as well. He says, what's up, you lovely lot, and how things going? Andy, you feeling okay? I think I've just kind of touched on that a little bit there, mate. Big Dave says he's got some Kings of War Brock Riders primed, ready for his coffee break. Clyde's asking how many people are ready for the Kings of War global event on the 8th. Yeah, I think this week, I should have my video up this week as well, the interview I did with Ronnie, which will be the last video as part of my Kings of War slow grow campaign. That's coming to an end on Friday, which is when the Kings of War global campaign starts. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be some folks getting ready. RG's saying rambling's good. Yeah, it's going to have to be me. It's all I've got tonight, to be fair. Peter Stockdale saying, are you interested in the upcoming Twilight Kin for Kings of War? You know what, mate? I would suggest that the Twilight Kin isn't necessarily an army that's interested me in the past. It's not something I've ever kind of had any ambitions to paint. However, as part of my interview that you'll see this week with Ronnie at Mantic Games, he did show me the Twilight Kin sprues for the first time, and I've seen the concept art, and we've chatted about it when I've spoken to Ronnie. I've chatted about the Twilight Kin stuff, and I'll be honest, the sprues look fantastic. The models look really good. There's some really interesting models that you can make from those sprues, and I think, if I remember right, one of the things Ronnie says in the interview is that this is the most new plastics for any army that they've done. I could be wrong there, but I think that's what he said. But so, am I going to be sort of building and painting a Twilight Kin army? Probably not, mate. It's probably not my kind of aesthetic. It's not necessarily, it doesn't grab me so much. However, the models are very, very nice. Airspeed of an unladen swallow. let's not go down that one. VG says 2 weeks not drinking. Lucky I'm not visiting. Yeah, we might have had to cancel the up, mate, if that was the case. Cleo saying hello, just back from a walk. Good timing, perfect timing. And Super Pumpkin Man saying, did I forget to submit my photos again? Yeah, I think there was only, I think yesterday, up until the deadline yesterday, like last night, I think I only had 4 or 5 submissions, if I'm perfectly honest, and it was like, oh, I ain't doing that. And then a few people obviously submitted stuff today after I'd mentioned it in the Patreon and things. And like Yoakum's out kind of travelling at the minute, he's on holiday, so he's like sort of been trying to get a Wi-Fi signal or a sort of a mobile signal to send stuff in. So yeah, folks are just busy. That's fine. That's okay. Tizzy Brain Drain saying we'll definitely be playing Frosthaven, I should say, and maybe trying out Terraforming Mars, the dice game. That it feels like either you're going to have a very long gaming session, or I'm overestimating how long those games would take to play. Type 40 Tarda says he's resisting a couple of Kickstarter projects because of the new house and moving, but still tempted by TT Combat's Paint Range expansion Kickstarter and Mantic's Worms board game. I'll be perfectly honest, the Worms board game doesn't do anything for me. I played Worms when I was kind of younger on like Amiga and stuff like that. But yeah, the nostalgia doesn't really kind of hold anything for me. If it was like a 30 quid game or something, maybe it was worth a punt. But it's like 100 and odd quid on Kickstarter. I don't need that kind of thing in my life, really. And certainly not have to wait for it to arrive. And TT Combat Paint Range, you know what? I know some people are massively into the paints and they like a lot of stuff. I'm starting to kind of feel that sort of my painting style and my painting standard it's as good as it's gonna get. Like we talked last week about eyesight. I did buy some very, very cheap reading glasses. As you can see there, they are not very classy. However, they did cost me, I think, £1.99, and they work absolutely perfectly. And because of that, I have actually been painting. I've been painting some Shatterpoint stuff. So we had a little mini hobby hangout on Wednesday night with myself and James Bray and Yoakum. We just kind of we got together on Discord kind of thing, or on Zoom, whatever it was, and we just kind of sat and chatted, and I did a little bit of painting while we were sitting chatting. So I actually did break out the brushes, and these have made a massive difference. It's just sharpened things up a little bit when I'm sitting painting. As I mentioned before, light wasn't an issue. I've got this nice big painting light here, kind of gives me plenty of light. So that wasn't necessarily an issue. I didn't need anything with kind of big sort of brightness or anything on it. But these are just enough that, I think I mentioned this last week, that when I kind of, if I hold sort of at this distance, I can focus on the miniature perfectly. I can see all of the detail on it, but it's just that too far away to kind of comfortably paint. When I bring it up to like a nice kind of like distance for painting, I can't really focus like kind of sharply on the miniature at that point, and that's where the reading glasses kind of have come in and really helped. So yeah, so I've actually managed to do a little bit of painting this last week as well, which was very nice actually to have that the little call last Wednesday. I had my operation on the Thursday. Put the glasses out the way there. I had my operation on the Thursday, so the Wednesday night just kind of took my mind off things a little bit. Let's have a little look. Where are we up to here? Oh, that's jumped ahead quite a little bit there again. Let me just find where we're up to. Clyde saying Andy's the bionic $100 million man now. I wish, mate, not quite. Matt saying, yeah, good to hear. She'll raise a mug of tea to your recovery. Here, mate. Thank you very much. And RG saying, regarding drinking, I feel your pain. Wayne says, tonight he's painting his Dystopian Wars Crown Starter Fleet and Fleet Troopers for Imperial Assault. It sounds like you've got your hands full there, mate. Somebody saying evening all there with no name beside it. I've never seen that before. Just a letter Z. I don't know who that is. Samir, hello to you as well. He's saying hello, hobby hooligans. Life took over and I didn't finish my challenge. Keep an eye on the Facebook group for picks later this week. If you haven't submitted your pitch yet, mate, send them to me. We'll kick them off next week because like I said before, we didn't really get enough in to make a sort of a make a go of it for this week, so we'll do it next week, I think. TC Brain Train saying, okay, here's a question. Are there any games and or minis that you're looking forward to? I'll be honest, I've been kind of off the boil a bit of late when it comes to miniature stuff like that. There's been nothing massively grabbed my attention. I've not really played anything. I've not really painted anything. I've not really felt in the mood. I think obviously having my coming up has been playing on my mind a little bit as well, and I've not really been kind of focused on stuff. So is there anything got me excited? Not particularly at the moment, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I think that's fine to have a little bit of a kind of a hobby lull now and again. The problem is when it's your job as well, and because nobody's kind of like sort of prodding me going you need to do this, you need to do that. There's a deadline for this kind of thing. That makes it a bit more difficult. So I'm feeling optimistic post up last week, and I feel like I'm kind of ready for a bit of a refresh and kind of a bit of a rejig and start things off again and a bit of a refocus. So I think I'm going to be spending a bit of time this next week. I've got a video to edit to come out this week. However, I think I'm going to be spending a bit of time kind of focusing on what's next, I think. Haxan saying I'm almost finished painting Sword and Sorcery Immortal Souls, and I'm continuing to paint Bloodborne. Have been playing Immortal Souls and also played Uprising Curse of the Last Emperor. Very nice, mate. Yoakum, good evening, matey. He says he's even carrying beer with me out of the wild. We had this conversation about that, didn't we? About if you're going to go camping, like hiking out in the wilds, you need to take some beer with you, but then you've got to weigh it up about how much do I take for the weight I have to carry around with me. That's the thing, isn't it? Tabletop Ramble saying he's trying to get his Dark Lord team ready for the Ark World Weekender. That's happening at the end of the month. Very nice, mate. I look forward to hearing more about that. VJ is asking Type 40 Tarders which Kickstarter he's trying to resist. He said he's resisting Joyride at the minute as well. I've seen a lot of advertising for that, but I must admit I don't know much about the game itself. And Samir saying glad to have you back, Andy. Nice to see it all went well with the procedure last week. It certainly seems to have, mate. I mean, it's early days. The operation sort of happened on Thursday. I was back home by about 9:30 on Thursday night. So what's that? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It was only 4 days ago, so I guess there's still time for things to go wrong. But at the minute, I'm kind of putting on a brave face. Everything's okay. Tizzy Brain Drain saying it'll be a nice long gaming session. I think it definitely will be, mate. John saying he's waiting for Terraforming Mars the Dice game Kickstarter to arrive. Haxan saying he's in on the TT combat paints again. Zingbo says you should devote the whole stream to admiring those 4 or 5 submissions you got by yesterday. I'm sure they're all deserving of substantial amount of praise. I'm sure they are, mate, to be fair. I generally don't look at them. I tend not to look at the images prior to the stream. I tend to kind of react to them as I see them on the stream, really. I copy them across into a folder and then I just look at them on the stream, really. Otherwise, I'll kind of just spend all day sort of looking through everybody's photographs. But yeah, I think it's. I will make a point of highlighting the folks next week who got in on time, shall we say? Where'd that go? Luke saying, have you been watching Ahsoka? I have been watching Ahsoka, mate. I've painted Ahsoka as well. So she's the one Shatterpoint mini that I actually got finished, and she's kind of inspired me to crack on and do more of the is it the Night Owls, the Mandalorians here? They're trying to get. So I've been painting these bad boys and girls, obviously. So yeah, I have been watching it. I've enjoyed it actually. It's been pretty good so far. I quite like the characters in it. It feels. I think what's quite nice about it is it feels very much like how the Mandalorian was Star Wars adjacent. So like when we talk about like the Obi-Wan show, we kind of know Obi-Wan's story where he ends up with Anakin and stuff like that. However, when it comes to Ahsoka, unless you're kind of deeply into kind of the expanded universe, the kind of the Clone Wars cartoons, those kind of stuff, this probably feels quite new to a lot of people. So it's interesting. It's cool to see kind of Chopper in there, and Ezra kind of coming in through stuff, and all of the other kind of characters from that Rebel series and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, mate. I'm enjoying it. Somebody says, look like an international man of intrigue with those glasses on, perhaps a secret member of MI7. I think I look more like somebody that should be on a register, mate, with those glasses on, I think. Yeah, somebody is going to send the pics in. VG saying, apology for non-attendance last week. Home and work life got into. I know exactly what it's like, mate. I know exactly what it's like. And VG saying Z equals Zingbo. No, it wasn't him, mate. There was no name like where it would normally say your name, and you've got your little avatar with your VG Morph kind of logo thing. There was just a Z in that logo thing, and there was no name there. I've never seen that before. So there you go. Let's have a little look here. Ken Trio says, sent some pics today. Painted the figures, but forgot to take the pictures until this morning. Don't. Yeah, that's what happens, mate. That's what happens. Let's have a little look down here. VG saying, I watched the Worms gameplay video and the gameplay felt really uninspiring. It's pretty standard troops on a map with special weapons from drop crates with a Worms IP. To be honest, mate, I didn't even watch the gameplay type stuff, if I'm perfectly honest. I have plenty of games that don't get to see the table, and if I'm being honest, would I like to have seen a little bit of marketing for the game prior to the Kickstarter launching? If the video had gone up prior to the Kickstarter, before I'd seen the price and before I saw what you got in the box, might I have probably watched it? Quite possibly, but it's something that's kind of just passed me by, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's something that's not really on my radar. Samir saying no Ahsoka spoilers, please. I haven't watched it yet. No spoilers, mate. I won't be giving any spoilers away. And yeah, Luke saying first 3 episodes are really good, especially if you're a Rebels fan. Nice one. John said I was watching the Dice Towers news and they said new Crisis Protocol starter set is due to come out. It is, mate. It's already been announced. It is essentially exactly the same starter set as the last one. I'll get to you, Clyde, and thank you very much for that super chat there. We'll get to that in a second. It is essentially the same mod. Well, let me rephrase that. It's the same characters that's in the original starter set, but they're just updated models. It's been refreshed to kind of give it a new lease of life, if you like. So if you already have the original, you might not feel the need to buy the new one. If you're going to buy in now, then this is the one to kind of buy in with. Yeah, whoever that Z is there saying it's at YouTube being weird, it definitely is. For some reason, it doesn't want to bring your name up. VJ saying Ahsoka's going well so far. Lots of scope for them to expand the current world building. I'd agree with that as well. Bill making stuff. Good evening, Bill. How are you doing, my friend? I hope everything is well. Luke saying that the videos that he watched for Worms were only 2-player and seemed to really miss the point of the fun, chaotic beer and pretzels group round the table. Yeah, do you know what it is? I mean, there's certain channels I think would have done a good job of creating that kind of chaotic sort of content, if you like, to really show it off. And no disrespect to the Dice Tower, but I think that just talking about how the game plays is not really the way to kind of to sell that game. You need people to go, that looks like they're having a lot of fun. That's what they should have done. And to be fair, there was nothing stopping Mantic from making their own video, that kind of stuff. But hey ho, as they say. Type 40 Tard is saying he's hoping to get 325 painted minis done this. I hope you don't mean 325 this month. I hope you mean 325 this year by the end, at the end of the month, kind of thing. That would be very, very different. I don't know how you'd manage to paint 325 minis in a month. Clyde Dashin, thank you very much, mate, for the super chat there. He's saying VJ's had his name up on the screen too long. He's just slapped his wrists there and there, just took it off him. Matt saying, yeah, 325, holy crap. I don't even think I've painted 3 this year. I've been really, really lax when it comes to painting this year. I have definitely not been in the right frame of mind for it. I've kind of been a bit, like I say, a bit off the boil. I wouldn't even say unmotivated. I think I've been uninspired this year. I wouldn't say there's been anything that's really sort of massively grabbed me. Like, there's been a few things where I've been on the cusp of getting excited for stuff, but it's not really kind of boiled over. But so we'll see. Greg saying new Marvel Crisis Protocol boxes, new version of those characters, not updated old ones. Old ones are still viable and in some cases better. The sculpts are definitely better. Yes, sorry, I should have mentioned that they do have new stats, but they are the same characters in terms of there's an Iron Man in there. There's a Captain Marvel in there. There's a Captain America, that kind of thing. So it's the same characters, just newer versions of them. Bill saying, yeah, you managed to paint one Gretchen. Yeah, honestly, I like I said before, I painted Ahsoka. She is the one Shatterpoint mini that I actually finished. I've got a few on the boil at the minute. Have I painted anything else? Do you know what it is? I can't remember when I did this room. But when I did this room, I painted Groot and Rocket for Marvel Crisis Protocol. So they're on my shelf there. The fact that the models I've painted are beside me here suggests... Oh, I'll tell you what I have painted this year. I can see them on the shelf there. I painted Fenrir for God tier. I got those sent to me, and I painted those. I was potentially going to use them for a tournament I was going to, and I never ended up doing it. I felt bad using it because I think by the time I went to the tournament, nobody else really had access to those models, so I felt bad kind of taking it to the event, and so in the end I didn't. But yeah, I definitely haven't painted much this year, that's for sure. Let's have a little look. Yeah, Bill said he's managed to paint one Gretchen this year. Yeah, I think we're on a similar kind of wavelength there, mate. John saying, all right, did Mark Streed do a paid review for Worms on his Kickstarter's preview? I've no idea, mate. I've no idea. I know there was basically 2 videos on the Worms Kickstarter. In fact, let's have a little look. I'm not being paid to promote it or anything like that, but then I guess I'm not saying anything particularly positive about it at the minute, because it's not really for me. So I think essentially what we had was, let's have a little look. There were a couple of videos on the Kickstarter, and yeah, so there was the Worms, the board game, the Dice Tower preview, and I'm pretty sure that when you press it, it says at the bottom here, it says includes paid promotion, and I'm pretty sure there's something. I remember watching the start of it, and I think something come up on screen, which, there you go. The following is a paid preview for a Kickstarter project. The art components and rules may not be in their final form. So that was certainly a paid for promotion. And the other one was from Man vs. Meeple, and we can just see there as well if we skip over the advert. There we go. Includes paid promotion. So both of them were just kind of paid for sort of videos, really, and there's nothing wrong with that. Most Kickstarter stuff these days is paid for. That I've made Kickstarter videos which have been paid for as well, because the way I see it is, if you are trying to use somebody's platform to promote the game that you're selling, you are looking for promotion. You're not looking for a review. Like, neither of those are reviews, they're previews where they're not giving their opinion on it, they're basically just showing the game off, and so therefore I don't see that as a particular problem. My problem is then what happens is you tend not to get people's personality coming across quite so much, because I think sometimes, like me personally, if I'm doing a paid promotion for a Kickstarter, I find it very hard to give my personal opinion, because that's not what I'm not being paid for my opinion. I'm being paid to present the product, and that's something very different. I would have liked to have seen, like, sort of just like the guys from Mantic playing through the game. Not every video needs to be super polished. Sometimes it's just about kind of showing the excitement that the game provides, and if you can't show that on camera, maybe the game doesn't provide that much excitement, I guess, is the way I would kind of say it. Anyway, let's have a look. Cleo saying, what if I line up 325 minis outside the house and spray paint them? Will that count? I think I'm not quite sure. That's what Type 40 Torres has been doing. Luke says, I've also painted hardly anything, but just because stuff keeps getting in the way, and I've prioritised other things. To be honest, mate, I've been following with interest, watching you kind of playing a load of board games. I've hardly played anything this year either. This has been a really unproductive year for me. I've had a million other things kind of going on in the background. But you don't share those kind of things. Like you don't tell everybody that you work with what's going on like in your personal life kind of thing. Nothing serious, like nothing like sort of no problems as such. Just stuff like kind of getting in the way of life, if you like. It's been nice to watch you kind of see all the different games you've been playing, mate. You seem to be having a whale of a time. So yeah, don't worry about the paint in that case. RG said, I thought you started the Mantic Crows. I did, mate. I was painting them on a live stream. Never got them finished, mate. They're still part painted in the spare room there. Tasty Brain Drain saying, sadly, I've only painted 4 minis this year, and that's counting the one I painted at Gen Con. Yeah, I think a lot of us are on that kind of thing. Samir is saying he's had his most productive hobby year yet, with over 100 minis done, all thanks to the monthly hobby challenges. Well, I'm glad that they are motivating you, mate. Jonathan saying he's back. I'm back. Typical, got a phone call. I've been on fire this month and painted a good few for the challenge. Nice one, mate. I'm pleased for you. And yeah, VJ saying, yeah, Mark Street did the Dice Tower paid preview. I'm not a viewer of Dice Tower stuff, to be fair. I don't really watch a lot of board gaming type stuff these days, so I'm not familiar with Mark and his content. Cleo says, after I dropped that painstakingly painted Kingdom Death mini on the floor a couple of weeks ago, I lost my will to paint. I can imagine that, mate, yeah. And yeah, VJ saying it wasn't a gameplay video, just an overview. Yeah, that's what I mean about like that kind of game to me, which is designed to be a little bit kind of chaotic and fun, if you like. It's not meant to be a serious game. It's not a competitive game. I wouldn't even suggest it's meant to be like a kind of like a deep and meaningful kind of game. It's not like a heavy Euro or something like that. I think you go into a Worms game with the expectation that it's a bit silly and a bit chaotic. That to me, like it needs kind of like, it needs showcasing, really. Let's have a little look here. VG saying, yeah, Dice Tower always do the paid preview disclaimer. If they do a live play, it will more than likely have a disclaimer too, but that would depend on them getting a playable copy. Yeah. Joseph Cresswell, good evening, Joseph. How are you doing? He said, wishing you a good recovery, Andy. Thank you very much, mate. He said, I had a bladder up 2.5 years ago. It was pretty brutal recovery, but worth it for the life improvement. Some ops are just a bit grim. Hoping your recovery is better. Yeah, I think they are, mate. I think generally, sometimes the recovery can be bad, but depending upon what you've been through to have the operation in the first place, it's still worthwhile, mate. Definitely. Jonathan Dawson says, I wanted to ask, I've been getting into historicals, mainly skirmish, and have a bit of a thing for the Roman era. Would you consider historicals, and what era tickled you? I'll be honest, mate, I'm not historicals is not something that massively kind of excites me, and I think that's more to do with the fact is I never really studied like history at like we did history at school. But the history that I did at school was things like Industrial Revolution. It was things like sort of Victorian era type stuff. We didn't do like World War II. We didn't necessarily do about like kind of like, bearing in mind like where I live is right next to Hadrian's Wall. I live at a place like near a place called Wall's End, which is right where the Roman wall ended. It like we never really learned about that kind of stuff. So like historical, like Napoleonics and kind of all that kind of stuff, we didn't really do like war history, if you like. So historical gaming's never really been on my radar. I've always been much more of a sci-fi fan, or like even a little bit of fantasy. I like kind of like sort of quirky stuff. So historicals has never really been on my radar. And I just don't know any other historical gamers. So it's not even like I kind of play games with, or I kind of socialise with folks who are into that kind of history either. My dad was never kind of like a history buff. He didn't play games or anything like that. Didn't model anything. I didn't get like model aeroplanes, like Spitfires and stuff like that when I was a kid. I didn't get tanks. Like that was never really my kind of thing. So historicals has never really been my jam. However, there has been a few times because of things like Band of Brothers, because of like Fury, the movie, because of Saving Private Ryan. There's been times when I've been tempted to dabble with World War II stuff. Predominantly something like Bolt Action, I think, which is kind of like a less serious version in terms of like the gameplay itself. Less kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Less of a simulation and more of a game type thing. So I think if I was going to do historicals, it would probably be World War II stuff, mate. Clyde saying, you put out YouTube videos and live chats, you're super productive. It doesn't feel like it, mate. I'll be perfectly honest. I always feel like I'm letting people down. But I'm not good at like sort of asking for help, and I'm not good at over communicating either, so telling people what's going on in the background kind of thing. These are the things I need to get better at. Clyde saying, reminder and repeating, this month's painting challenge extended another week, so get in your stuff. Thank you very much, mate. Kodos, good evening to you, buddy. How are you doing? Let me just scroll. That's just massively jumped off the top of my screen there. Let's have a little look. RG says, Worms Heavy Euro whiskey now on table. John says, I played Master of Orion, the card game, for the first time on Saturday. It was a good game from Cryptozoic. I got it new, cheap, only about £9. That's all right, man. It's not too bad at all. Tony saying, yeah, no idea how many minis I've painted this year, but made a couple of scenic pieces too, which were a fair bit of work. Yeah, I think we could definitely see your scenic pieces, mate, count as about 50 miniatures, to be fair. The time you've put into them would definitely be kind of like little mini armies, to be fair. Zingbo says, I get a lot of models painted in January, but the month since then has been hit or miss. Yeah, I kind of feel that, like, maybe towards the back end of this year, like sort of September, October, November time, I'll start to kind of get a second wind. As I mentioned before, I'm feeling like it's time for a bit of a kind of like almost a bit of a reboot, like almost like a refresh, not just kind of like carry on as normal. I feel like I need to shake things up a little bit and have a bit of a refocus, and I think that might push me forward. I'm also playing like a lot of video games at the moment. In terms of, I'm saying video games, I'm literally playing Fortnite, if I'm honest. That's all I'm really playing, but I'm kind of obsessed by it at the moment. And what that's doing is it's scratching an itch to have something at the end of the day where I kind of switch my brain off a little bit and do something different, which is then giving me time during the day to think about hobby stuff like sort of miniatures and painting and gaming as more of a job type thing. And I think it's nice to separate those things. For a long time, like miniatures was everything. It was my job and it was my hobby, and it was all I really kind of did. And when you go through a bit of a burnout in terms of like sort of inspiration, it can be hard, because not only are you struggling with your job type thing, but you're struggling with your hobby as well. So the video gaming's kind of given me a little bit of a break at the moment, and something to switch my brain off at the end of the day. So yeah, I feel like that's why it's a good time to have a bit of a refresh now. Clyde saying we'll get Andy doing Silver Bayonet and count that as historical. I like the idea of Silver Bayonet. I'm not sure I really fancy painting historical miniatures. I think that's the thing. Samir saying, I've heard so many good things about Saga, small war bands, easy to get into. Yeah, I've heard that as well, mate, to be fair. Cleo saying, you live near Hadrian's Wall. I literally do, mate. It's like, it's pretty much on my doorstep. So I live in Newcastle. I live near the coast. And just slightly inland from where I am is Hadrian's Wall, basically, is Wall's End, which, funnily enough, is where the wall ended. So yeah, I'm not too far away from that. Mutton Chop says, just a question, what do you guys do while watching this? I live stream, mate. I chat. I don't know what everybody else does. Samir saying, Hail Caesar has also caught my eye. I'm trying so hard not to get yet another starter set from Warlord to dump on the pile of opportunity. I think Hail Caesar is if you're into historical miniatures, certainly of that era, I think Hail Caesar is probably as good a sample as any. I guess it just depends on whether you're either one, whether you just want to paint those miniatures, or two, whether you're going to get it to the table with some friends. Matt says, I thought it was law that every British kid needs to have at least one Airfix kit to go. I just don't really think I was never really into models and stuff when I was a kid. Like I played a lot of sport. I was really sporty as a younger kid. So I played like sort of football for about three different football teams. I was like into athletics. I used to like run for my county, and I used to run for Sunderland Harriers, which was like a local athletics club, and I used to run for my school as well. And I was pretty good at that, to be fair. So I did a lot of sport when I was younger. So my hobbies were like, so when I wasn't playing sport, I was like training and stuff. I used to train like athletics 3 nights a week, and then that was on top of football training. And then I used to play like 3 games a week as well. It got to the point where I had to have cortisone injections in my knees when I was younger, because I was essentially like exercising too much. and I was basically my young knees, if you like, weren't producing the kind of the lubrication in my joints fast enough. I was basically wearing it away, so I had to have cortisone injections in the front of my knees when I was younger. So yeah, sport was my hobby when I was younger. I didn't really get into sort of painting miniatures and stuff until I was in my 30s. So it wasn't like a young hobby for me, that kind of model building. We also didn't have much money, which is another reason why I think sport was so big for me. Like running didn't cost me anything. I needed a pair of trainers, and that was pretty much it. And football, you know, like there was always a football between us, kind of thing, to kick about. So yeah, I think that was predominantly why sport was big for me as a kid. I just didn't have the money to kind of like buy models and paint, and I was never in the house really. Samir saying I've picked up some bolt action. Oop, I just jumped there. Let me find it where it was. Let's go back. He's scrolling back through. I picked up some bolt action stuff over the years and would love to play, but haven't found anyone in the area interested. That's always the issue, isn't it, mate? When it comes to playing stuff. VJ saying, speaking of historicals, Mythic Americas looks pretty cool, but the starter set is on the pricey side. Is Mythic Americas, is that the Warlord one, or am I getting it mixed up with somebody else? Tizzy Brain Drain saying, same here. She's got a degree in history, even tried getting a master's in it. Well done, mate. John saying, I played a good few World War II games over the years. I've played Bolt Action, which I thought was okay, but I like Chain of Command by Two Fat Lordies. Chain of Command never really grabbed me, mate, when I saw it played. Bolt Action for me is much more kind of like, it's Warhammer historicals kind of thing as far as I'm concerned, and I think it's just that style of game that I think just suits my brain a bit better. Clyde saying, yeah, he's a historical person too. Can't enjoy painting huge amounts of the same thing. Thus, Silver Bayonet. Yeah, exactly, mate. Samir says, speaking of terrain, that should be September's hobby challenge. I need to get some terrain completed. You can complete some terrain as part of your hobby challenge, mate. Yoakum this month, I think, was painting like measuring sticks and stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's your hobby, mate. You do whatever you want to do. Let's have a little look here. VJ says, becoming a Fortnite channel. You heard it here first. I tell you what, mate, I'd be lying if I said it hadn't crossed my mind to have a second channel doing it. I've been playing quite a bit of it, to be fair, but the difference is I get to play it like late at night. So I've been playing it like maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I've been playing with my brother-in-law, and the two of us, like, because I haven't had to get up to take the little one to school the next morning, I can play until kind of like 1 in the morning type thing. I'm just playing with headphones on, like, so it's not disturbing anybody kind of thing. So I've been playing late at night, but yeah, I'm enjoying it, mate. I've been enjoying it. Clyde saying, I don't have the reaction times to play Fortnite. I didn't think I did either, mate, to be fair, but it's surprising how quickly it comes back when you play a lot. Matt says, every time I pick up a multiplayer FPS, I'm reminded how much my reaction times have slowed. It's painful for the old ego. I agree, mate. Mine was exactly the same as well. I played a little bit of Call of Duty with my brother-in-law, and because it's one of those games where you die very quickly, I used to get frustrated with it because I was essentially dying so fast in the game that I never really got to get better at it, because I didn't really know what I was doing wrong to put it right, because I was dying really quickly kind of thing. The difference with Fortnite is because you have like shields and you have like health, you have to take shields out, then you have to take the health out. You basically have to put quite a lot of kind of like damage into a player to take them down. That gives me time, and you can obviously replenish your shields as well. That gives me time to kind of get better. And I would say like I'm winning games, I'm getting like the victory royale things and stuff like that, and I'm playing with players who are better than me, which helps me along as well, and they help and support me and kind of coach me through. And when I say players that are better, I'm talking about like my older sons and things like that as well. And I'm also playing with my youngest son, which is nice that we get to play together as well. So I'm just finding it kind of ticks a lot of boxes in the competitive like sort of element. I've been playing like ranked games and ranking up and stuff, so it ticks the competitive bit. It ticks the like just having a bit of fun with my sons. It ticks the kind of like spending some time with my brother-in-law playing online. So yeah, it's kind of it's the right game at the right time, I think, for me. I see Dice says that one can never have enough Kings of War starter sets. I think you can have too much. you can definitely find you've got a lot of miniatures and nothing, not doing anything with them. Cleo says, where is my tabletop game that consists of nothing but walking the length of Hadrian's Wall? That's it, nothing else, but you have to create the entire terrain to play it. That might take some time, mate. We need a big board, that's for sure. Samir says, nice, the hidden athlete side of Andy. Just finished football footwork drills in the yard with the kids before the stream. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, up until my youngest son was born, I used to do a lot of sport, really. So like as I said before, I played basketball, I played football, I played American football, I did athletics, lots of different sports. I used to ride motorbikes, and I used to go and watch football as well, and like travel to away games with friends and stuff. And then when my twins were born, my ex-wife asked me to kind of like stop riding motorbikes at that point in time. I'd had an accident and stuff like that, and she was a bit nervous with having kids around. So I gave up riding motorbikes back then, and I kind of stopped going to football matches as well. And that was the point when I kind of discovered painting miniatures. And then as the kids got a bit older, and I got divorced, I kind of got back into sport and stuff again. And I had time on my hands, and I got back into kind of exercise, and I was running like sort of 10k runs, and I was doing sort of like Tough Mudder type things. And then me and my current wife, me and my wife got together, and we used to exercise a lot together and do boot camps and do boxing training and things like that. And then when the little one came along, we couldn't train together anymore, and I find it quite dull doing it on my own. I've always been more into like team sports and stuff. I just find it dull doing it on my own, and I kind of got out of the routine. And then I've had a few heart issues and like health issues, like my operation and stuff, and some reasons which kind of stopped me from exercising. You just get out of the swing of it, yeah. But I kind of miss being like fit. Mordecai says, my main gaming buddy was absorbed with Baldur's Gate and now Starfield, so I haven't done much hobbying recently. And sorry for the late painting. Do not worry about being late, mate. That's absolutely fine. One of my oldest sons is obsessed with Baldur's Gate at the moment as well, so yeah, I completely understand that. Let's have a little look here. Well, I tell you what, for some reason it keeps massively jumping the chat. I mean, it's good there's plenty of chat, but it keeps jumping up my screen. Jonathan saying, what about pirates, blood and plunder? The pirate stuff's not really interested me, mate, if I'm honest. I feel like the problem with like pirate stuff is it's just like it's just loads of characters with swords and pistols kind of thing, and it's never really excited me really. Kodos is saying, just from personal experience, 2 8-point saga armies make a 2,000 to 2,500 point Kings of War list. Wow. Samir says, football starting young age leads to old man knee problems in later middle age. I feel your pain, Andy. Like literally, I have ice on my left knee right now after the drills in the yard. It's amazing how it comes, isn't it? VG saying, Andy was a late blooming nerd. I mean, I always kind of liked Star Wars and things like that, but I used to write. Like I say, we didn't have any money when I was a kid. Like my mum didn't work. My dad worked down the pit. Like my mum didn't work because she basically she was a housewife. She brought me and my sister up, and my dad was a coal miner. So we literally didn't really have much money. So you kind of but all my friends, I didn't feel poor kind of thing because all my friends, all their parents, were in exactly the same boat as well, and we all lived in the same area. We all went to the same school, so all my friends rode around on BMXs and played football and ran around and all that kind of stuff. So things like Games Workshop wasn't even on my radar. We didn't have the money to be sort of buying that kind of thing, and I was never at home long enough to kind of do that. And I got into computer games with my Spectrum and stuff like that, but I was buying sort of those $1.99 games. I wasn't buying the expensive £9 and £10 ones. I was buying the 99 pence ones and the $1.99 ones. And then as I got a bit older and I started working and stuff, I bought I won a Sega Master System on a cereal box competition. I think it was Weetabix or something, or Rice Krispies. I won a Sega Master System, but then could hardly afford the cartridges, so got very few cartridges. Played the absolute life out of Sonic the Hedgehog and Alex Kidd, or Alex the Kid, was it? Played the life out of those ones. And then as I got a bit older and I was like working a Saturday job and stuff like that, I bought a Mega Drive, and by the time PlayStation came out, I was an apprentice and I was earning a decent wage by that point. And then I pretty much had every Xbox and PlayStation like as they came out from then. So I've always been into kind of video games, console wise, never really PC stuff. But yeah, the miniature side of things, it wasn't until I had to give up some hobbies really, and I was looking for something different to do that I could do at home. Let's have a little look down here. Haxan saying, my introduction to gaming was via Airfix models and minifigs. I wasn't so much historical as I just made up a story around Romans, ancient Britons, samurai and gladiators. What I would say is, like, in terms of historical stuff, the samurai stuff maybe interests me a bit more, but probably more the samurai and that Japanese mythology side of things, as opposed to the real historical feudal Japan type stuff. Things like kind of like Oni demons and like Himetsu is a kind of is a thing. And I guess that's what feeds into things like Malifaux with the Ten Thunders faction and that style of thing. I like that kind of like sort of alternative weird history type stuff, I suppose. VG is saying, are you playing Fortnite with Jackson? I've considered playing with Declan, or do they do 2-player Minecraft like on the same console? No, I've been playing Fortnite with Jackson, mate, to be fair. So we've been doing some games, just me and Jackson, just the two of us. We've been doing some like 3 and 4 player games with my oldest 2 lads as well, and Jackson. And I've been playing solo as well, but fortunately I've got a PlayStation 5 which I play on, and Jackson's using my old PlayStation 4. So he's just set up in one room and I'm set up in the other room, and we kind of he likes the idea of kind of playing online with the headphones on, so we've set them up in separate rooms kind of thing, so we can now chat through the headsets. And then obviously when my older sons play as well, we can all chat as a big party thing. But yeah, Minecraft's not really my kind of thing. He loves Minecraft. He's been making a Minecraft video today. I think he even gave Declan a shout out in the video as well, mate. So he wants me to get that uploaded for him this week. So watch out for that one. But yeah, Minecraft's not really my kind of thing. But he's loving Fortnite, mate. He's obviously like he's okay at it, to be fair. And it's, I would say that it's not necessarily violence as in it's cartoon violence type thing, really. Like, it's like if you shoot somebody, they just basically kind of like almost get like beamed up. It's not like anybody drops down dead or anything like that kind of thing. Tasty Brain Drain's been playing a bit of original StarCraft. Greg says, Fortnite, that's so 2018. You know what, mate? This all came about. I was looking for a game to play. Like, so what I was saying to my kids was, I'm going to be stuck at home for a few weeks now with like recovering from my operation. This is when I was meant to have the operation at the start of the month. We should try and find a video game that we can all play online together. And we settled on Fortnite because you can play cross-platform. Because like me and one of my sons have got PlayStation 5s. My other son's got a PlayStation 4. Jackson was using my PlayStation 4, my old one. So we could all play on different platforms. It's a free game, so we didn't have to buy it or anything like that. And also, like I can't do the building stuff. I'm not good at that. And Fortnite now has this zero build mode, which essentially just makes it like a kind of like a shooting game type thing. And that's all we play, to be fair. So yeah, it might be old school, but it's definitely it's definitely a lot of fun, mate. Icy Dice is saying, I don't know the Saxon battle board, but the Anglo-Saxons are a horde army. I think even in Saga, though, it's like very few models, isn't it? Icy Dice says, most of their powers need high model count, but they can give levy warrior aggression, which makes them incredibly strong for their points. I wish I knew what that meant, mate. John says, I have 2 warrants for Saga, an Arthurian British and an early Saxon army. Yeah, I was a couple of guys at the local club that I used to go to who were talking about Saga and the special dice and stuff like that. They seemed quite excited by it. VG saying, can you play Fortnite 2-player on a single console? I think you can, mate, but it is super complicated, I think, in terms of like there's a lot going on the screen. I think but if you've got a PC or something like one of you could play on console, one of you could play on a computer. I think you can play it on a mobile device if you've got like an Android phone. It's not on iOS because of like complications with Apple, but if you've got an iOS device, you can do that. If you've got a Nintendo Switch, you can play it on that. If you've got a console, you can play on that. You can play it on PC, and all of the different systems all talk to each other, so that basically you can all play it together, kind of thing. Let's have a little look here. Chat moving away again. Where are we up to? Ted Williams saying, what bike or bikes did you have, Andy? I started on a Yamaha 400, so it was a FZR 400RR, which was like a kind of like a Japanese import bike, like a little race bike, a single seater thing. And when I first passed my test, that's what I had. I then basically upgraded from that to, I had a Thundercat, a Yamaha Thundercat, and then I upgraded from that. I had an R1 when I sold it. So that was the last bike I had. I had a Yamaha R1, the red and white one, which I absolutely loved, to be fair. But yeah, it was just sort of I would love to go back into biking now, but if I bought a bike now, it would be like a cafe racer type thing, something much more kind of sedate rather than the sports bikes now. I'd love a Harley, for example, but the Harley prices are just kind of outrageous, really. So I'd love something more like more stylish, I think, rather than like kind of like speed, if you like, these days. VG says, partners, I was pretty firmly told I wasn't allowed to buy a motorbike when Declan came along. I had bikes when I met my ex-wife, to be fair, which is why I probably had them as long. And then when the twins were, I think it was when I found out they were twins, it was kind of like, yeah, like how do you feel about like not doing that now? I think what it was, my ex-wife's had a family member who died in a motorbike accident, and I think the family were all a little bit like a bit funny about that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was that was me kind of taking one for the team, I think. RGC, I remember Airfix kits ended up with the American Civil War, as Airfix did cavalry and infantry. Yeah, so easy. They definitely were good kits. Hacksan saying, could never stop riding motorbikes, don't drive and have ridden for over 30 years. I sold my motorbike and I bought a convertible, and that was kind of like the closest kind of thing in terms of like having the wind in your hair, kind of, when I had hair. And I quite liked having a convertible, so I basically sold my bike and sold my car and bought a convertible with the money. And then after that, when the kids were born, I bought like a big 4x4 thing and stuff like that. And later on, I did buy a Alfa Romeo, which was still my most favourite car ever. Let's have a little look. VG saying, sounds like Andy feels about pirates the way I feel about Wild West. I kind of like Wild West stuff, mate, I'll be honest, but even the cowboy side of things, I think I like almost the Brave Star kind of like sort of the sci-fi version, like the alternative Wild West, not cowboys and Indians type thing. Johnson, he loves Wild West skirmish games. Matt says, the setting that leaves him cold is 1920s gangster. I do not see the appeal. Yeah, I don't really see the appeal in like a miniatures game. I don't mind it in like a movie setting or something like that. Like, I quite like the Godfather board game, which I think is quite good. But yeah, I could never imagine just playing lots of blokes in black suits and Tommy guns kind of things. Skullduggery saying, not going to lie, Sonic 3 and Knuckles was about 50% of my childhood. Cleo said, I hated Wild West until 1, I watched Silverado and the Frisco Kid, and 2, I played Red Dead Redemption 2. Now I'm hooked. I keep meaning to go back to Red Dead Redemption. I played it when it first came out, and I ended up selling it really quickly afterwards because it was just a bit too slow paced for me at the time. But yeah, I think now I've got more time on my hands, a bit more patience, it might be worthwhile. Clyde saying he uses Pulp Alley for both westerns and gangsters. Nice one, mate. And John Cena likes Gangster Skirmish as well. Vijay says, I did a paper route to be able to afford Commodore 64 games. Before that, I did the type-in code games from the magazines. Yeah, I used to do them as well. We used to get the Zap magazine and what was the other Spectrum magazine? I forget what the other... There was Your Sinclair, I think, was one of them, and Zap was the two kind of Spectrum magazines. I used to do those. And obviously, like back in the day, we used to copy games as well off each other. So because you could, press play on one cassette and press record on the other one, we all used to kind of share our games amongst ourselves and record them that way. So that was probably how I ended up with more games for Spectrum and stuff. Matt says, my fixation with gaming was and is worrying. I'm pretty sure I'm on the spectrum with how obsessed I got with getting myself a PC. I've never really been into like PC stuff. Like for me, a PC is a tool. Like I've got a decent computer here, but the reason that I've got this computer is because I needed to be able to run multiple cameras and things like that. So it's got a good processor and it's got a good graphics card and stuff like that. But it was more like necessity rather than like, oh, it needs to run that. Like my older sons are way more into their like high spec PCs with graphics cards and sort of 300 hertz kind of refresh rates and fancy 4060 graphics cards and all that stuff. Cleo says, how have I not just gone ahead and jumped into Broken Legions yet? Yeah, John saying RDR2. So yeah, it's Red Dead Redemption 2, the video game. Skulldoggery says, back in the Genesis days, my nerd cred was having cleared save files with every Sonic 3 and Knuckles character. Yeah, Genesis over in the States, it was a Mega Drive here, mate. I even had a Mega CD as well. I was one of the few that I think I probably did. Joseph Cresswell saying, what was the painting theme again for August? It was Alternative August, mate. So yeah, just kind of very, very loose kind of theme. It can be an alternative game, something different to what you normally paint. It might be an alternative paint scheme. It might be alternative paints. It might be kind of an alternative history kind of game. It might be a different manufacturer that you normally kind of paint minis, a different game system, that kind of stuff, mate. Icy Dice says, for Japanese mythology, you could check out Bushido. I don't know how close it is to actual mythology, though. Yeah, I think, like, there's things... I think the problem is just, like... that's what I would probably choose, but I'm not that, like, sort of... There's nothing massively grabbing me out there that makes me think, like, I'm going to drop everything else and like, that's what I'll do. Like, sci-fi stuff... Some of the fantasy stuff I'm doing, the Star Wars stuff, the Marvel stuff, it all kind of scratches a lot of the issues I already have, really. Let me scroll down here and try and catch up a little bit. Wow. There's so much chat. I'm loving the chat here, by the way, folks. Keep it up. It's keeping me going. Let me have a look. Haxan saying, revisiting my samurai interest by backing Harikiri Blades of Honor, which is Japanese mythology based. Not sure if it'll be delivered this year or next, but the minis look great. Nice one. John Ashley Smith, good evening, mate. And he's saying, what's going on? No topic of discussion. Nah, we're just chatting tonight, mate. Samir saying, Andy, the background music is on point today. Thank you very much, mate. I think there was an update on the PC and it reset a lot of the levels. So I've kind of guessed at the microphone levels and the music levels and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm glad it's all working all right. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, Fiji saying might be able to play a cross-platform. Yeah, you definitely can, mate. Yeah, on the Switch and the PC, you definitely can do it that way, mate. Samir says, did you name your Thundercat motorcycle Lion or? I didn't actually. Fiji saying, speaking of gangster setting time, yeah, Epic Crime should be delivering soon. Very nice. Ted Williams is saying, R1, very nice, bit too small for me as I'm a bit of a bloater. Last bike I had was a Hayabusa, which was completely mental. Yeah, they were a bit mental. To be fair, mate, I think when I was riding bikes, I was probably I wouldn't have been half the weight I am now, bro. I bet I was like sort of 11 stone, 12 stone. So yeah, the R1 was more than enough for me, mate. Yeah, I'll give you a shout, VG, when Jackson's video goes up. He recorded a day, and he came in and he said, "What's Grant's son called again?" And I said, "Oh, he's called Declan." And he went, "Oh, all right." And then I heard him going, "Oh, shout out to Declan." And he was asking about Minecraft videos, so I thought it was quite cool, mate. It was nice. John said, "My game group hasn't gotten together since June, but in the coming weeks we'll be back to our Friday night Gaslands and burgers." Very nice, mate. I love the sound of that. Cleo saying the first chapter of Red Dead Redemption 2 needs patience and tweaking the weapons aim settings. When the world opens up, just go wild. Yeah, I think that's where it was. I think at the time that the initial, there was a lot of just trudging through snow, I seem to remember, in the early days, and it kind of, I was a bit short on patience, I think, at the time. John says, "Yeah, I had VIC 28 by Commodore and then 64 and Amiga." Yeah, we were the poor kids, mate. We started on the Spectrums. I never did have the Commodore stuff. John saying, "Weird West is compelling, reminds me of Jonah Hex." Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. Like, there's a film called Priest that I quite like, which is basically kind of set like in a bit of an alternative history with vampires and like Wild West type stuff, which is pretty cool. I like that kind of setting, that type of stuff. Zingbo saying Zap was a Commodore 64 magazine. Crash, that's the one. I remember, the Crash magazine. That's what it was. Thank you, Zingbo. VG saying I had a flourishing piracy business in school when I paid for my lay-by for double cassette deck. Yeah, I think everybody was doing stuff like that back then, mate. Big Dave says Two Faces crew for Batman miniatures game has the 20s gangster look. They look awesome. Yeah, I could get away with that, mate, within a kind of like a comic book setting, but not like only that kind of stuff. Jonathan says, "I think the earliest game I remember was Horace Goes Skiing and then Manic Miner." Yeah, I remember playing them as well, mate. Johnson, "A random guy approached me to say that Red Dead Redemption was using my likeness without my permission, which came as a shock." There you go, mate. And Clyde saying, "Keep the chatter going so I'll never find my way at the end." I'm about 3 minutes behind the end at the minute, so I'll be catching up. Don't you worry about that. Mini Warmwood, good evening, mate. How you doing? He says he's made it to another live feed and it's been a while. Nice to see you. Vijay saying the Mountaintop Dojo display for Bushido they had at UK Games Expo was really nice. I think I completely missed it, mate, if I'm being honest. Clyde saying, "Enough mini suggestions on here. I'm getting distracted and giving them a look." John saying 33 Celsius here today. I'm loving it, but won't be long before I have to wear layers again. It's been warm here as well today, mate, to be fair. It's warm in here tonight. Typical, isn't it, with kind of kids are going back to school now and the weather's starting to get quite nice at home. Cleo saying dew point here is over 65, which I'm told means don't even try to breathe. And Mini Warmwood says, "Yes, Paul Bettany and Carl Urban Priest movie would make great miniatures game." Yeah, I really do like that film, actually. Very much underrated film. See, I did catch up. I did catch up to the end there, so yeah, that can't be bad, can it? Oh. So a little bit of crowdsourcing here then, folks. What kind of sort of hobby content do you watch on YouTube? As I mentioned before, I'm feeling like a bit of a reboot, a bit of a refresh. I'm I think like a lot of my enthusiasm, shall we say, has been diminished a bit because of my health's not being great, but that's kind of fixed now, if you like. It's going to take me a little while to kind of heal up, if you like. But I'm feeling already that I've got motivation because I'm feeling better, kind of thing in myself. So I'll just kind of wonder, what kind of stuff do people watch? I feel like because I've not really been sort of enthused by the hobby, I've not really watched a lot of hobby content. So what kind of stuff do folks like? What do you enjoy? What do you not enjoy? You don't have to kind of like sort of slag people off or anything like that. Just like what kind of content, just to give me some inspiration to go and watch some stuff and try and see what floats my boat. VJ saying, "Angela and I really enjoyed Twisted Metal. Hope they do a season 2. Yeah, me too, mate. I really enjoyed it. It was one of them things where I felt like I didn't have a clue what to expect in the first 10 minutes, and then I was instantly hooked. Absolutely would love that one. Cleo saying, "All right, quick, I need to say something interesting." Ted Williams, hello Ted. He's saying, gaming question. I was thinking of jumping on the Shatterpoint bandwagon, and then I saw the new starter set for Marvel Crisis Protocol. Any thoughts on which is the better game? They're very different games, mate. And I think what I would suggest is it really does depend upon which theme you prefer. Are you more of a Marvel fan, or are you more of a Star Wars fan? Because both games, the miniatures are not cheap. Both games, the miniatures are very good quality. Both games, you don't need a lot of miniatures to play the game. And both games play on a small kind of surface. Outside of that, they're very, very different games kind of thing. And I would suggest that Shatterpoint is probably less competitive in terms of, like, it's still a competitive game. You could still play it like in a tournament and stuff like that. But it's potentially a bit more, it's not even swingy. I wouldn't even suggest it that. It's just, I think what I would say is that Marvel Crisis Protocol reminds me more of War Machine in terms of you can do some very precise kind of combinations. Shatterpoint reminds me more of just having kind of a good fun game. So yeah, I guess it depends upon the kind of game you want, but I would suggest which miniatures do you like the best will be where I would start. Cleo says, I'm glad you're feeling better, Andy. It's wonderful to hear. Thank you very much, mate. It's one of those things where you, like, how much do I want to talk about? I've not been like, so like I haven't been on death's door or anything like that. I don't want anybody kind of like thinking I was on my way out kind of thing. But I had a medical issue which I've basically just put up with for a long time, because I'm a stubborn male who doesn't go to the doctors and all that kind of stuff, and I basically just put it off until eventually it got so bad I had to have an operation. And that's basically, it's been a bit demoralizing, it's been a bit debilitating at times. It's kind of made me feel like I don't really want to go out much. It's made me feel like I don't really want to socialize a lot. It's the reason I wasn't very well at UK Games Expo and I missed a couple of days. To be honest, like, it basically got to a point where it was a case of I need to do something about this now. And unfortunately, my wife had health insurance through her job, so it meant I could go private for the operation. So it all happened really quick rather than having to wait like a year for like national health stuff. So without going into too much detail about what my problems were, if you've got a problem, just get it checked out. Don't put it off. Don't soldier through. Don't be the brave kind of person and go, oh, I'm fine, I'll kind of cope. That's what I did, and I did it for years, and it got worse and worse and worse. And you don't realise how much of a kind of toll it takes on your life until that's not a problem anymore. So even though I'm still healing up at the moment, and it's been less than a week, I can instantly already kind of feel like it's like a weight off my shoulders kind of thing, and I wish I'd done it years ago kind of thing. That aside, that's why it's kind of given me a bit of a renewed optimism. I'm generally a kind of happy person, like a positive person, but I think you don't realise how much effect stuff has on you until it's not affecting you anymore kind of thing. It's kind of weird. Tizzy Brain Drain saying, I tend to watch a lot of lore videos since, as I've said before, I'm a sucker for lore. Yep, good one. VG said, I'm definitely going to make a Sweet Tooth van for Gaslands. Yeah, definitely, mate. Tony saying, hobby content, mainly painting videos, terrain videos, and water effects videos. So you're generally basically kind of, are you looking for tutorials on how to help you improve, basically, I think is what you're saying. Zingbo says, being like in the painting phase, interviews and chats. Yeah. Koda says, usually chatting about news, starter advice on lists and model reviews. Matt says, the channel I watch are the ones that are a little more like the low-key side. Tabletop skirmish games, Hobby with Ollie. I don't know Hobby with Ollie. More about the community for me. It's more about the community for me, mate. This is where I'm kind of struggling at the minute. Because I'm not somebody that is a competitive player. I'm not somebody that builds like the latest lists and looks for like the kind of loopholes in a new book when it comes out. I'm not somebody that's going to kind of like, you know, like I'm not Vanguard Tactics kind of thing, teaching you how to be the best at Warhammer or something like that. That's not really my thing. I'm also not the best painter in the world, so I'm not going to be teaching you how to like up your painting skills and do all of these amazing effects that like kind of you can't do yourself. I'm more the kind of like I'm the hobbyist, if you like. I'm the kind of the average Joe kind of thing, the person like you who just likes cool models, who just likes to kind of paint a bit now and again, likes to talk about the hobby, almost setting that kind of scene of we're all just sitting around like at a gaming club or like after we've played the games, and we're sitting chatting hobby, we're sitting chatting the community, we're talking about what games are coming out. Like we're not mega kind of focused on like all I want to talk about is Space Marine chapter and the infinite lore of that one particular thing kind of thing. So I'm trying to see where I fit in the world now, if that makes sense. Skulldog is saying there are two broad categories of YouTube hobby content I enjoy. This is how I did a cool thing, more educational, and look at this cool thing I did, more entertainment. Yeah, I think I'm kind of probably in and amongst both of those kind of things in my head anyway. Cleo saying like to get better at doing water effects. Samir saying unboxings are out. I love to watch narrative campaign series and search for specific how-to videos. Latest itch for terrain is how to paint rock walls other than grey base and light dry brush. And Tony's saying yeah, basing videos. John says I could be hobbying every day, but summer demands I do otherwise. Only time I do certain jobs. Kind of bummed I've only completed 5 or 6 models since June. I think everybody's like, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, mate. It's nice that kind of like that you get a bit of summer and you get to do something different. Zingbo saying otherwise hobby content from personable people who aren't doing the sort of high-end painting that just dispirits me. Practical painting, speed painting, interesting kit bashes, conversions. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like it'll be stuff like maybe like it's more like kind of like curious challenge type stuff. Like can I complete this starter set in a weekend, or like can you really learn to play this game from buying this starter set, or like my top 5 favorite models for this particular game. Like more entertainment type stuff rather than although I quite enjoy doing instructional stuff. It's a bit of a balance because like that doesn't make much money, and like if I do a Kickstarter preview, for example, I don't make a fortune from it, but that's enough to kind of keep the lights on, like doing that every once in a while. But the problem is that then doesn't gel with the flow of everything else, so it's about trying to do that kind of stuff. Quarters is saying outside of my stuff, newbie dice, tabletop basement, and Napoleonic wargaming. Nice, mate. Vijay saying it was just the cars and the fighting. I'm not sure I would have dug it, but it was the humour that hooked him in. Makes sense. It was the writers of Deadpool. Yeah, it was definitely the humour, mate. There was a very sarcastic, but then I guess the game had that very kind of almost sort of 80s sort of sarcasm, I think. Samir saying always like seeing hobbyists. Whoa, jumping again. Let me scroll back again. Always like, where was it? Let me find it. Wow, we just massively jumped ahead there. Oh yeah, always like seeing hobbyist projects, progress videos, and oddly enough, this is my hobby space videos. Yeah, I think you know what it is? I've already filmed a hobby space video that I never ever released, so maybe I'll get back and do that at some point. I basically did the voiceover and stuff like that, recorded the script, and all I needed to do was to get some B-roll footage of certain things in the room, and for some reason I think I was going through that phase of like, no, what a waste of time. Nobody wants to see that. Like that self-doubt, that imposter syndrome type stuff. I've been through a lot of that, and I think a lot of it's been to do with like health and like doubting myself and stuff like that. Chorus is saying law content only for Battletech. Jez Hunt, good evening, mate. How are you doing? He's saying, how's the recovery? I'm on the mend, mate, shall we say. Clyde saying he loves Nick Games 30 years war stuff. Not familiar with that, mate. Otherwise, watch Picklejaw, MS Paint's 52 miniatures. Big Dave says I tend to watch lore videos, unboxing and battle reports. I'm a simple soul. Matt saying, the old I'm British and I can deal with this. 100% mate, 100% that. Definitely. Well, not even just the British, more just the kind of like, you know, like man, that man up kind of working class attitude. I think that's all what it was. Just saying they've taken off your cone of shame. They have, mate. Samir saying Zorb Hammer has a fun series of 40k tabletop version of the Dawn of War PC game. I don't play 40k, but it's cool to see how they converted a PC game to tabletop. John saying just an occasional ramble about games or models that have caught your attention. Perhaps a video or two on your completed models or what you have on the go is compelling content for me. Interesting. Liam Fishwick, good evening, mate. He said Ash for indie stuff, Valrak for rumours, Esoteric Order for bat reps, Gaming Gang for RPG reviews. Nice choices, mate. Joe saying I love terrain build videos like Margaretha Builder of Worlds. I'm not familiar with that one. Rambling and creating fun stories. I like that. John saying I like finding out new painting styles or items that aren't exactly hobby related. Yeah, I know what you mean about that kind of stuff, mate. I quite like that as well. Jonathan saying I tend to watch skirmish games and indie game content. I like to hear about new independent games, even the agnostic stuff. Cleo says not quite the same level, but I dealt with smashed up foot that wasn't fully healed for over a year before I went and did the operation. A couple of weeks post-op pain, so much better. It's amazing, isn't it? It really is amazing, like the kind of... It's so easy to just put things off, and what because you start living with a problem, you forget how big the problem is, and you kind of get on with it, but you're constantly basically just compensating for it without even realising sometimes. Matt says it's less about being brave and far more about just getting sent to the physiotherapy every time I went to the docs about my back. Yeah. Cleo saying I'm only sad I can't use the sorry I can't go to your event broken foot excuse anymore. VG saying the only mini channels I watch regularly here is here and Tabletop Minions. I enjoy listening to Trapped Under Plastic, but that's pretty much it. Dice Towers more, your stuff you're more into board games. Yeah, I get that, mate. Mordecai saying highly recommend Grimdog City YouTube channel, variety of hobby channel, which is great for discovering games. I found some decent, like, there's a channel and I forget the name now. I'll have to dig it out for next week, and it's like massively like underrated, underrepresented. The quality of the videos the guy does, he should have thousands and thousands of views, and he just doesn't. And I guess it's probably the marketing more than anything else, but the quality of his builds and stuff are fantastic. I'll dig it out and I'll kind of do a little bit of a link to it. Mark Watson, good evening, Mark. He says Uncle Atom, two fat lordies on tabletop, middle-aged men talking into a camera. I can do that, mate. I can do that. Joe's saying the painting phase is brill too. I'll be honest, I watch their interview stuff, like where they're just sitting rambling around a microphone, but I don't really watch their painting stuff, interestingly. But I think it's more because it's kind of background stuff to me. I don't really watch painting videos to learn tips and tricks and stuff. I tend to just put those interviews on as background when I'm doing other things. More like a podcast, I guess. John saying, I'm really too much of a dinosaur. I don't look for new ways to paint or speedier ways since I'm in no rush whatsoever. There is that as well, mate, yeah. Jess is saying, I like stuff about the gaming industry generally. I do as well, mate, but I guess I'm just trying to see how it all gels together. I don't want to... I think for a long time I've flip-flopped between different ideas and different subjects and different tacts, and I've tried things and not really followed through with them, or I've tried things that I've thought were a good idea but they haven't been as successful as I'd hoped, so I've basically just kind of walked away from them when probably I should have kept at it and seen where they went, like things like that. I think Tizzy Brain said he's off to help play games. Take care, mate. Clyde saying he forgot about Devs and Dice. Leaf is hilarious. Not a name I'm familiar with. Yeah, take care, Tasty Brain Drain. Nice to see you, buddy. Johnson, yeah, news about industry unboxings of compelling content as well. Matt says the problem with the really good painters is they leave out so many of the steps they've internalized, so you can follow their guides but still end up scratching your head about what went wrong. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, mate. Yeah. Joe said, who said Joe's were average? Sorry, Joe, you know what I mean. Ted saying, internet wise it's mainly painting videos now, though I watch the painting phase interviews as I used to work with Peachy back in the day. I watch Tabletop Minions and a smattering of other bits. And Cleo saying, Margathira, builder of worlds, reminds me of my fencing master. I feel fond of him already. Yeah, John saying, yeah, Adam's the only one he watches the most. No pressure or hype. I agree with that, mate, to be fair. Where are we up to here as well? Jonathan saying, first turn on an indie game, see how it works. See if its aesthetics would work. Yeah. Jess is saying, I like that you point out other things to GW, the insights to the industry. I love the stuff when you've spoken with indie folks and the like. I really enjoy doing them, mate, but they just don't do well, that's all. And when you're relying upon things to pay the bills, this is where the self-doubt comes in, really, is the stuff I enjoy isn't necessarily mainstream enough to kind of pay the bills, and the stuff that I know will pay the bills isn't necessarily stuff I enjoy, and so you get trapped in this kind of weird self-doubt and loathing middle ground that's not very nice. John saying, occasionally I watch Kirioth for a laugh, but he's too enamoured with expensive Forge World stuff. I must admit, I like Kirioth. I've met him a couple of times. He's a nice guy, but I don't really like his stuff. Is predominantly Games Workshop, so I tend not to watch it really. Cleo saying, I'm not sure anyone can top Craftsman's Hobby Space tour, but I enjoy seeing what setups work for other people. Yeah. Jez says it'll get better or drop off. That's the manly way. Yes, mate, exactly. Yeah, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, apparently, and all that. But yeah, that's not what you should do. Let's have a look. Samir says, I actually found myself cheering for the British Paras in those videos. John says, yeah, I did a bit of a sore foot and my brain just have maybe put more weight on the other leg without me even noticing, so I end up with 2 sore feet. Yeah, exactly. John said, I flip hobby genres on a nearly daily basis, from historical plastic military models to tabletop gaming. And somebody saying, my hobby space is always multiple progress projects. I have the attention space of a pot of dried out GW paint. I know exactly what you mean, mate. Jess is saying, do 3 shows a week, one saying how great GW is, one slacking GW off, and then the actual good video. Maybe that's what I do. I basically just I do what other channels do and just talk about the GW news. It seems to work well for the vast majority of people. And to me, it says type fast that he's caught up again. I tell you what, folks, I'm like, if you got any questions or anything, please pop them in the chat now. Let me know, because I'm starting to kind of get a bit hot and sweaty in here. It is kind of warm, and it's a bit hot with the lights and the camera and everything else on. So if you don't have anything specific you want to chat about, I'll probably call it early for tonight's stream and come back stronger next week. However, if you've got stuff to talk about, I am more than happy to keep going. Jess is saying, yeah, get all the money then. Yeah, it's a real kind of mixed bag, mate. I'll be honest. I say, I've been through this kind of like self-doubt phase, and I love making videos. I really do enjoy making kind of content. Like I'm massively passionate about it. But I got into a rut where you doubt yourself and you doubt what you're doing. Nobody wants to watch me. I'm not very good at this. All that kind of stuff, right? And so like that kind of hangs over your head a bit. And I must admit, there was a period of time where I was thinking, actually, I think I'm just going to go and get a job. I think I'll just, like, it'd be nice if I could get a job in the industry, in the tabletop industry. But I think I'll go and try and get like a minimum wage job somewhere and just kind of coast through it all, kind of thing. But I love doing this. Like when the passion's flowing and the ideas are flowing and the creativity's flowing and I'm behind it. Honestly, there's not a better job in the world. There is nothing I would rather do than this. But when the creativity dries up a bit and you start doubting yourself, it's quite hard, like, to be fair. Matt saying he needs to head off and go and rest his shoulder. Cleo saying, if you need a recovery time, I suppose we can be merciful and let you rest. So he's saying, hot and sweaty Andy's for the other channel. And Zingbo is saying, for those I've submitted, what's the challenge for September? I'll tell you what the challenge is next week, mate. I haven't come up with the idea yet, if I'm being perfectly honest. So yeah, I'll come up with it next week. But if you've got something you want to paint, by all means include it. RG says, if I'm on YouTube, I tend to link to current affairs, but wary of confirmation bias. For hobby, it's you, Midwinter Minis, Artist Opus, and a couple of Kickstarter channels. Jezza saying, give me a shout when you can go for a short break out the house, dude. Latest TV jobs have come to an end. I'll give you a shout, mate, because I'm a bit more mobile than I thought I would be. So yeah, I'll give you a shout, buddy. John says, I was over shopping at Grangetown today and it was 25 degrees. Couldn't believe how warm it was. Yeah, it is. It's been proper sticky today, mate, to be fair. Cleo says, I'm going to make my millions from creativity through Kickstarter. Mark my words. That's the way, mate. Right, I am going to call it because I am getting hot and sweaty now, and I think other folks are kind of ready to kind of zone out as well. So thank you for coming tonight, folks. Sorry I didn't have like a specific topic tonight, but yeah, my mind's been kind of elsewhere over the last kind of week a little bit. But I wanted to make sure I kind of come and stream. I'm feeling up to it. It's only fair that I kind of come and represent when I can. But yeah, so this week I've got an interview with Ronnie coming up where we talk about Kings of War global campaign. We talk about Barroom Brawl. We talk about the Twilight Kin. We talk about sort of what's coming up in the Mantic world as well. So watch out for that this week. And then I'll be back next Monday for another live stream with a nice catchy topic to talk about as well. So take care, folks, and I will see you all next week. Bye now.